Bro Plata is back, you sexy bitches. You. Thank you guys for listening and watching to another interview. We have an interview. Tim Danko, we have an interview. How is this possible? What did we do right? How?
You know, this one was difficult to get. It's difficult to get because what I did is I messaged our man Drew here, and it took about 15 or 16 seconds for him to get back to me. So Drew
God.
Schottenheimer, professional MMA fighter Drew Schottenheimer is here. Drew, thank you for being with us,
Yes.
bro.
Probably
Yeah,
one of the
thanks for having
best
me on.
and probably one of the best nicknames in the game right now, without a doubt. The Drucifer. All hail Drucifer. All hail. I love it, man.
How did the nickname come about? Who gave you the nickname?
So funny enough, I went on vacation when I was like probably 15 years old with some friends, and they were really religious, and I used to listen to. I mean, I still do listen to metal, but um, his older brother was in Bible school and becoming a preacher and whatnot, and just because I listened to metal one day, he's like, you know what? I'm gonna start calling you Drucifer. So they started calling me Drucifer, and then it spread to other friends, and just kept going from there.
It is a wonderful nickname, man. Like to own something like that is dope as shit, man. Like especially like I had a couple of shitty nicknames in high school, so it became at least I know that there are actually good nicknames out there for people instead of just, hey, the dickhead with the fucking face. Like that was usually what I got. But how long have you been fighting in mixed martial arts? And actually, no, let's do this. How long have you been training? Is the first question.
I've been training for 14 years.
Okay. Did you do anything like, how everybody starts off doing like karate or taekwondo? What was your like first martial art that you learned?
So funny enough, like I've always been into combat sports even when I was like 4 or 5 years old. So my parents bought me this pair of Sugar Ray Leonard boxing gloves. And so I
Okay.
would go in the living room with my dad and I would just beat the crap out of him. I remember like when I was 5 years old, I gave him a bloody lip and I felt terrible because obviously, he's not being aggressive with me and I'm sitting here like swinging for the fences. Um, but I did, a couple years of wrestling,
Okay.
and then I did some taekwondo also. But
Okay.
I was always asking, ever since I was a kid, asking to do karate, asking to do judo, asking to do taekwondo. I wanted to box, but obviously, and I really can't blame them. You probably don't want your 5-year-old child like asking you to go box.
No.
Let me go get my undeveloped brain hit into my skull.
Uh,
Right. However, football would have been fine though, right?
or
Like,
hockey.
No,
Yeah.
actually, I wasn't
no.
allowed to play football either. No.
Well, you know what? Good
Really?
for them, man. Because
Yeah.
I mean, back then people didn't know what they know now, so good for them to be
Right.
in on it early, right? If I had kids, I don't think I'd let them play football. I don't know if they could talk me into it maybe, but I'd be nervous for sure.
Right, absolutely. Depends on
But
the position too.
that
Yeah.
too, that too, and it's better than it ever has been. I mean, it's still not great, but it's still, now that we know things, it's still better than it ever has been.
Right.
Do you worry about? I mean, because you've been training for 14 years. I mean, how many times have you been hit in the head? Like, are you worried about that?
Uh, I mean, yes and no. I mean, there's gyms that it's just like when you're training, it's full go fight, and I haven't really been a part of those, so I would say that I haven't taken a lot of the types of damage that other people are taking. I try to be smart about it. I don't like sparring hard unless I have a fight coming up and I'm far enough out. I want to do a couple hard rounds. I'm not to the point of like Donald Cerrone where he just doesn't spar at all. I honestly think that hurts him more than it helps him.
I agree on
Just
that.
because, yeah, and you can see it in his performance. You can't even compare the two, the old Donald to the new. But I try to be a little bit more safe about it now. I mean, coming from the old instigator days, yeah, we had to stop training on Sundays because everybody was getting hurt. So, I mean,
Oh,
yeah, I was a part of that era a little bit, but I mean, I've been past that part for a long time. So, I mean, at this point, what am I going to do? I've been doing it this long. If it's going to happen, it's going to happen. I can't change it now.
Right? You can't undo
yeah,
all those
no.
hits you've already taken, right?
Right.
Uh,
That's the thing about I was gonna say Cerrone. Yeah, not sparring. What it does do though is it helps him get paid. Like, he fights 8 times a year, and that's
yeah.
probably a lot because of he doesn't get hurt in training because he's not doing all that sparring. something to say to that, I guess. It depends what you're trying to do. Like, what's your record now as a pro? Like 5-5, 4-5?
4-5, yeah.
All right, I'll say this, man. Every time I see you fight, it's always fun. I'm always fun to, when I see you on a card because I know what you're going to do. I know you have an exciting fight. You're going to do everything you can to have an exciting fight. Is that part of your goal, not just to win a fight, but to make it an entertaining fight for people to watch?
Yeah, that's kind of always been my mentality. I made a lot of dumb decisions, not amateur and pro. Taking some fights I probably shouldn't have taken, even against advice. I felt like I was pressed up against time because I'm in my 30s.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's always been my thing. Like, I don't, people pay money and they want to come see a fight. And, I get there's different ways to win and like different spots in your career and what you're trying to do and whatnot. But I mean, at the end of the day, it's a fight. It's not a straight wrestling match. I have nothing against somebody that takes somebody down and actually, tries to finish them, like whether it be through jiu-jitsu or striking. But when you get these guys that just pen people down and pin their legs together and literally don't try and do anything except hold on to somebody, like, go find a new sport because this isn't for you. Nobody wants to see that. You're never going to make it to the UFC. If you do, you're going to get cut because you're boring.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it could lead to a championship if you're a certain Russian piece
He's
of
not
shit.
talking about that, though, Ray.
He does do that.
He beats the
pins
hell out of
them
people
down.
on the ground. Drew,
Yeah, but
Drew,
he
we need
holds them and cuddles with them for at least 5 of those
he ground
5
and
minutes.
pounds. What do you think about Khabib?
I will say that he does more actively than the style that I'm talking about.
See?
Like, there's literally people that don't even try to throw a punch.
Agreed.
They just
Yeah.
pin their legs.
GSP, when he came back and won the title after the Matt Serra knockout, he was a lot like that, where he would do
John
a lot of
Fitch.
holding.
John Fitch.
John Fitch. John Fitch still does that. He just got subs last week in Bellator, but yeah, he still fights like that. I mean, he's like 45 now or something, but he's, no, but I know what you're talking about, Drew, because I saw one of your fights where that happened, and I know how you like to fight, and that didn't get to happen at all, and it was probably one of the more boring fights I ever saw. I think it was Mike Putman. Was that the guy's name?
Putnam?
Yeah. I
Yeah.
did way more damage in that fight, and
From the
I haven't
bottom,
watched it.
right?
And I haven't watched it in a long time. I made some mistakes that I know I did. I was trying to go for a standing Kimura, and I don't know why, because that's never really been my thing. Instead of trying to stop a takedown, I kind of got in a position where I felt like I was going to be able to get it. But I mean, all I did was continuously elbow him. His face was so deformed,
Yeah.
and like, I didn't have a mark on me, and it's frustrating, man, because I showed up to fight, and nothing against him, man, but like, I couldn't be proud of that. There's no way. I would never post anything proud of that. Like, I wouldn't be like, oh, I won tonight. This is so awesome. Yeah, you won. Cool. But you didn't fight,
No.
and it was a fight, so you didn't achieve your goal. If you're not working every time you go out there to be the best version of yourself, then you're really just doing this for the wrong reason.
Agreed. Yeah, dude. I always, when you watch guys who do that kind of stuff, where it's just basically I think it's a mentality thing. Once the door locks, they kind of realize, oh shit, all I really have is this, and I'm completely screwed, but I'm really good at this. And sometimes, and it can lead to a victory and shit like that. But like you just said, there has to be an entertainment value to that, rather than just basically playing professional cuddler for fucking 15 minutes at a time. That's always been something I hate in fighting, is you get those holders that are just like, what the fuck, man, why are we even here? Like, I just paid $60 for this. Like, what the hell?
Here's what's funny though. You see these guys and they don't ever evolve or get better. Like,
No.
they just have wrestling and they're striking. You watch them hit mitts, or like you watch them in a fight, and it's atrocious. And I'm just worried. I'm just wondering, like, how have you done this for 10 plus years and you never developed any sort of striking at all, or like any sort of like top game where you have some chokes or some crazy transitions? Like, you literally just stuck to wrestling and never tried to grow.
Yeah.
And I think that's something that's a little bit different. Is my wrestling's actually a lot better than people think. I use it in the gym quite often, but I don't. unless I absolutely need it, I don't have a desire to do in a fight. Like people just don't want to see me sit there and like try and pen somebody. And maybe that's my fault, and maybe that's why I'm where I'm at right now. But at the end of the day, like most people will tell me like they enjoy watching me fight because it's always exciting. And that means more to me than going out there and just trying to get a win for some stupid reason.
What do
And
you?
what is? Go ahead, Ray.
Oh, I was gonna say, what is your thought process on like the pre-fight shit talking? Are you for that when it cut? Do you feel like that adds the little layer of entertainment for crowds when it comes to like having like say a UFC where everybody's like the UFC weigh-ins is a lot of times where guys can get shit talking in, and do you feel like on top of having an exciting style that like those are usually the guys that'll get a lot more like advanced matches, like more matchups per se that people will have an eye on instead of just some guy who's like, I'm just excited for the UFC or, you know, whatever organization throws at me. Dude's calling people out. Do you think that's a bit that should be a part of mixed martial arts as a whole?
I think, the running your mouth thing is a little bit, stupid. I mean, I know I've done it in the past. I've done it for different reasons. It was never like an intimidation factor.
Yeah.
I mean, dude, at the end of the day, like it doesn't change what's gonna happen. Like you can say whatever you want to me, we're still gonna get in there and fight. You can be
Yep.
nice to me, you can be mean to me, like it doesn't make me fear you. Like we're still going to fight. So I don't really understand the concept other than it's a marketing thing. People
Yeah.
want to see it and it sells and whatever. But it really takes the whole like martial arts aspect out of it, and like now you just got a bunch of fighters.
Yeah.
And I always like to tell people there are three different types of like personalities in the fight world. So you have, like the fighters that they literally just want to fight. So like the Diaz brothers, they're a good example of that. You have like as much as I hate to say this, you have like GSP. He's a martial artist. Like
Yes.
as much as he says he wants to get better, and I believe that's true. I mean, I just don't see it in his fighting style. But he's been a lifelong martial artist. He's humble. Like he gets in there, he does his job, doesn't run his mouth. And then of course you have the athlete, which is somebody more like a who am I thinking of here? Like I almost want to say like a Daniel Cormier or like a Ben Askren. Like they're lifelong. They've been wrestling since they were 5 years old. It was never like a martial arts thing. It was never a fight thing. It's just strictly about the competition. So they're like, somewhere in between. They'll be humble at some points, and then at other points, they'll be out there running their mouth. So you have those are like the three personality types I see like in the fight game.
I like it.
Where are you?
I've always said like I'm somewhere probably in between a fighter and a martial artist. Um, I'm never like your top level freaking. Like, you're not gonna see me out running 4 threes on the freaking NFL line. Blazing fast like monster. I'm not like a natural freaking like it comes easy. Like I obviously got to put in a lot of work for what I do, and but I mean at the same time I literally just like to fight. So, and I mean in a sports kind of way, not like randomly going out and finding people.
That's what I was gonna ask. Like right now, where you are with your pro career, what are your goals? I mean, your goals just to have as many competitive fights as possible and put on good shows. Or are you try to see how far you can possibly climb?
Well, that this year really kind of screwed everything up.
Right.
As well as last year. I mean, the last couple years I've had quite a few injuries that have slowed me down, and you know, probably fights I shouldn't have taken, and et cetera, et cetera. Um, I was off to a good start at 3-1. Made some bad decisions. That's on me. There's no excuses. I went in there and did it anyway. But um, I had my goal was to try to get 3 or 4 in this year, try and stay busy and active. And so I had a fight scheduled for March, which obviously was, or actually, did I say that right? No, it would have been May. It would have been May. Yeah. Okay. So this quarantine has been so long that I don't even know what's going on anymore. So yeah, I was scheduled for something May 18th, and it would have been an awesome fight. Like I think a lot of people, I think it really could have gone down as like being like a great local fight, like a fight of the year type situation, because it would have been striker versus striker. Um, I would say like a more clean type striker like me versus somebody that's a little more wild and throws unpredictable stuff. So I was really excited for it because those are the types of fights that I like. I know that he's not going to try to take it down unless he absolutely has to. I know he runs his mouth to people that shoot on him during a fight. Um, so like I was definitely looking forward to that one. So that got canned obviously because of the quarantine and everything. And then, you know, I was told that it was gonna move to July, and he was cool with it. And I'm just like, well, that's cool and all, and I'd like to agree with it, but we have no idea when gyms are going to
Right.
be allowed to
Yep.
open. And you know, God bless the matchmakers and whatnot, but they don't know the first thing about fighting because they haven't actually done it. So the advice I was given was go run, and I'm just like, dude, that's not how you get ready for a fight. So like people don't understand there's two different kinds of cardio, and running's like the slower, like expand your lungs, like the long term, like your car's at 60 miles an hour cruising, and then you have the MMA where you got to be able to not stay in that red line for too long, but also get there enough to get done what you want to do. So those are
Yeah.
two totally different types of cardio.
Oh,
You
hell yeah.
need, you know, you need both, I would say, to be in, you know, good fight shape. But as far as like, I'm not just gonna go run and go out there and just fight this guy. Like I told him, I'm like, dude, if you want us to both be exhausted after like 30 seconds and like, because I mean, obviously Pennsylvania was shut down too. That's where he's from. I mean, I don't know what he's doing. Maybe he's got a training session in the basement. I don't know. But you know, my job was taking it serious, so I can't be going saying I'm gonna go do this fight and training with people, and like if it comes back that I'm doing this stuff, like I can't risk my job for that.
No.
So yeah, at this point, I don't know. Ohio's up in the air with what's going on. Like, are they going to do it? Are they going to allow fans? Blah blah blah. Local shows can't do this without fans. They won't be able to make the money. So I mean, I'm just kind of looking for next year. The gym we're not even talking about opening until January because if the flu comes out and it turns into a big thing with them both going rampant, like, what are we going to get shut down again?
Yeah. And that, like, I actually wanted to ask you, like, since this whole thing has been going on, because me and Tim being comics, we couldn't do shit for fucking at least 3 months prior or before or after this whole thing happened. What and comedians are just nuts to begin with. We're crazy ass people. I always quote Tim Danko when I say that, or when he says that there's two things normal people actively avoid. One is public speaking, and the other one is fighting altogether. And like how when everything happened and gyms closed down and everything, what was like one of your first thoughts besides the fight itself? Like were you kind of like, okay, I just will wait and hunker down, or what was like your whole reaction when it, like the whole country shut down because of this COVID-19 shit?
Uh, I mean, I don't even really know the best way to put that. I mean, the whole thing was just crazy. Like it was like not a big deal, and then it just spiraled into like this is terrible, and everybody's gonna be dead by Tuesday. So
Yeah.
I'm just like, man, what do I do? Like, do I go stock up on supplies? Am I too late? Like, what am I doing here? Like, what do I do? I don't know. Like, I figured like we were all gonna be running down the street with our AKs, like with bayonets and like stabbing each other and stuff. But
Well, that's
yeah,
happening in some places apparently.
Yeah.
right.
Oh man, and it, like, especially because I go the place that I go every once in a while is up in Cleveland over here with American Revolution Fight and Fitness, and they opened up on like a sparingly basis in like June when you could do stuff like that, and they were doing temperature checks and all that kind of stuff. But that's the one nice thing about like places like that where you go is like you feel comfortable knowing that these guys are, taking every precaution seriously. So that was the nice.
Well, that's a crazy line too, man, because like everybody that's getting this, their symptoms are different. Like some
Yeah,
people aren't even getting, fever or whatnot. And so like is a temperature check really gonna do any good?
not
Like
really.
Right.
But I think it's one of those lovely, as human beings, we like a safety blanket, and temperature check, I think, is like one of those little like, oop, beep, okay, you're fine. But yeah, like you said, they could be asymptomatic, not know any of it. But I mean, kind of throw caution to the wind, in my opinion, at this point. We've been locked up for this long. Fuck it,
I
man.
mean the way I see it at this point is like I have to go to work every day still. So like
Yeah.
if I'm gonna get it, I'm gonna get it. I mean I don't know a better way to say it, but like if it's really like as deadly as some people are saying, like I can get it at work, so I'm just gonna sit at home and waste away until I get it from work and just not do anything.
Yeah, exactly.
Sounds like a good way to go out.
Uh,
Ray, you're getting this clumsy way of me making a drink in the
like
middle
I
of an
was,
interview.
yeah, like on our episode
Yeah.
yesterday with me.
Yeah, I'm trying to have the Jim Beam in one hand, trying to go around the microphone, then the 2 liter of Coke Zero, trying to go around.
Uh,
I
we
got a bowl of ice.
Drew, we alternate drinking on this show. It seems now where
Well, not on purpose. Or we
no, but it
have
just
what
happens that
happened
way.
when we had Gene Walker on, when we had like 3 hours of nonsense because we're both drunk. That's-
Yeah, I call it, those are the booze episodes, and they're awesome.
Drew, I mean, like, are you a drinker? Has your drinking gone up from quarantine? Because I feel like it has for everybody else I know.
Yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't say like you know, okay.
Ah,
Yeah, probably.
you're amongst friends, Drew.
Yeah, man. That's cool. You're amongst degenerates. It's cool. Say whatever you want. So I kind of know the answer to this question, but I'll ask it anyway. So where are you training, and how long have you been with those guys at that gym?
So I'm currently with Victory MMA. I guess you can say currently, but on hiatus, I guess. I started there when I was, I want to say 20 or 21. I was training somewhere else and there at the same time.
Okay.
So, I've been there for 13, 14, 15 years, somewhere in there.
What was where I always like to ask this question of people because I myself was nervous when I walked into the gym that I started at. But like, where did you have any kind of like nerves or anything like that going into training with them at Victory the first day?
Yeah, so what's really funny and a lot of people actually don't know about me is I have really, really bad people anxiety, like bad people anxiety. I don't like being around groups of a bunch of people I don't know. So like there have been plenty of times where I've driven to a gym to like cross train and I'll sit in the parking lot and I'll just be like, yeah, I can't do this and I'll leave.
Ah, been there.
So
Yeah, me too,
um
man. Yeah, we're comics, but we still have that issue with people. It's weird.
Yeah, that's what I think it was. Who did you say it? Quote Tim, who was like, "I can talk to everybody, I just can't." Or was it you? I can't remember, but it was.
No, it was a Seinfeld quote. Yeah, he's like, I can
Yeah.
talk to all of you. It's an old joke he did. I can talk to all of you, but I can't talk to one of you, like one on one.
And do you notice that in fighters that a lot of like fighters do have sort of like social anxiety around like they can fight in front of 5 to 1,000 people at a VFW hall and then all of a sudden they get like around not like civilians and it's like, oh, I have no idea how to talk to you. Do you notice
um
that?
everybody's personality is pretty crazy different in the fight game. So you get a lot of different types of people. I would say like mainly the most type are like super extroverted people. I don't think I mean, you do get some people that are more like reserved, but for the most part, I think you get mostly people that are just super outgoing.
Yeah, there's a few over at at my gym that are like that for sure. I don't well, Tim's just a shut in to begin with, so I'm kidding. I love you, buddy.
Talking to me?
Yeah, I'm talking about you.
Well, when you talk about Revolution, I don't know if you're talking about me or talking about that Tim guy
No,
who
Tim Stafford. No,
Yeah,
he'll
okay.
kill me. And
All
he's
right.
fighting this weekend, so I'm very good luck to him as well. He's in Indianapolis, I think, or for a boxing match. So he's getting back into boxing. But
Well,
yeah, Tim Danko definitely shut in. I will.
what? Whatever. I was gonna ask. Oh yeah, eventually, Drew, when your gym does open up, and most likely, the first time you take a fight, depending on no matter where it is, a really good chance you may not have fans there. Yeah, have you thought about that and like what that might mean for you?
Yeah, I don't really know if it necessarily has a big effect, like from the fighter perspective. I mean, it's all. I guess it could and it couldn't, because the fan cheering thing is kind of sweet. When things are going well, obviously people are cheering when they're not going well for you as well.
Yeah.
Right.
But I think I honestly think I would probably prefer it to be a little more quiet. You can hear your coach better, but the only problem is your opponent can hear your coach better too. The one thing that you learn to do as a fighter is like you can always pick out your coach's voice. It doesn't matter how loud it is in that place. You will always be able to pick out your coach's voice just because you're accustomed to listen to it every single day.
Yeah.
But with it being ouch, just got bit by something. Um,
Ah.
if if it's empty in there, it doesn't matter. Like you're gonna hear both coaches yelling stuff. So when your coach is like, his arm's right there, take it. He's gonna be like, oh, maybe I should move that.
Yep.
Yeah.
There's been a few things like that in the UFC. They've talked about that on like UFC cards as well. The fact that they can hear every coach just screaming their head off, and it's I could only assume that like the best matchups are guys in the UFC or Bellator who are from different countries. That's the only real advantage of having no crowds for like the foreign fighters compared to the American fighters, because that could be a definite disadvantage nowadays,
Right.
at least.
Is that a question? All right, I got
No, I was
questions.
just making a comment.
All right, we're good, man. Okay,
Ah,
we're flowing real well today, aren't we, man? We're flowing
this
extra
is.
awesome today.
I've been up since 6, sir. So this is a fun. This is gonna be fun. But I'm glad that Drew was on here as well. He sent me some. He sent me. Tim sent me some videos of your fights, and I really do like your style, dude. Like you are balls to the wall, and that's one of the nice parts about like MMA is there's so many different styles like that. So very
Right.
happy to
I
have you on.
appreciate that.
Absolutely.
Dude, let's talk about your last fight because I was there, and they're talking about having a crowd. I mean, that was a big crowd. How many people were at that place? Like 2,000, about.
Yeah, if you count the stage and the down around the cage and the bleachers up the side, I'd say that's a pretty fair number.
Yeah, this was at Nautica in Cleveland.
Mm-hmm.
But man, you fought Jason Ryan, and I mean, you won that fight very convincingly. It was a decision. But dude, Ray, did you watch that fight?
That was one of the ones I did not watch.
Okay, well, I'll tell you what happened. Drew got hit in the balls like 46 times. How many nut shots did you get, man? I mean, he was pissed too. I was pissed for him.
Um, I would say at least 12, and
Oh my gosh!
but it was
Holy
probably more.
Jesus Christ.
It was probably more than that.
Holy
So
shit!
like if you can see, I kept my composure pretty well, like in the first ones, and I just kind of let them know, like, hey man, bring it up a little bit,
Mhm.
because like the ref obviously didn't see it because they never do for whatever reason. I'm a taller guy, so I literally take at least one every single fight, if not more. They're usually a knee, just because guys can't get their leg up high enough, and most guys are like nice enough to realize that they did it, and so like they won't throw a knee from that spot again because they realized what they just did. Even if the ref doesn't see it, they just kind of like, oh yeah, I probably shouldn't do that again. But this was just like punch after punch. And it wasn't until I literally kept saying something, and then it wasn't until he literally side kicked me right in between the legs, and it put me down. And I was just because like there was like a little build up over time of just like, well, that wasn't too bad, but I don't want to take too many more of those. And then I got another one, then I got another one, and then it was a side kick, and you know, I acted out a little bit in between rounds, but like I'm just like, dude, come on, seriously.
Yeah, that's always I as a fan, that's frustrating when you just constantly see somebody just going down like it's a street fight because of they don't know how to throw any kind of thing. Me and Tim have talked about this on the podcast about like those up the middle knees that always seem to connect to the
Yeah.
right
I don't
on the
even
tip
know
of the dick.
why
Like,
you
what the
throw
hell?
them sometimes, because I
Yeah.
mean, even especially against the cage, if somebody hits somebody with the knee up the middle in the crotch, I mean, what are you aiming for? Like, even if you hit him in the stomach, your shin's gonna hit him in the crotch, right?
Yeah.
It's because their technique is so off and they're not throwing it correctly. Um, I don't even know that I've ever landed one of those to somebody's groin areas. I can't remember actually meeting somebody there, but I mean, I always make sure I have enough space. Like, I don't want to be the guy that, I mean, it happens. I've probably kicked people there because I like inside leg kicks.
Nice.
But like, I don't want to be the guy that just, because I mean, you can cause a lot of damage if, you know, your safety gear shifts around down there. Um, I've, I know somebody that took a shot and decided to keep fighting, and they should not have kept fighting after that. And they swelled up like a softball and had to go to the hospital.
Oh man.
And like again, I don't want to cost somebody to have to choose to keep fighting after that because like I'm not going to be proud of that win again. Like the dude should have stopped, but he didn't.
Yeah, let's talk more about ball shots. This is fun, right?
Well,
Well, we said on the we said on this podcast before that I mean, because you're wearing a cup, it's not getting hit directly in the testicles that happens. This is your cup moving, right? That
Right.
does it. So like what do you just do compression shorts in the like a normal standard plastic cup, or do you do a jock and compression shorts?
No, I do both.
Do both?
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you tried a steel cup, the tie cups?
I have not. That actually sounds safer, but it actually really worries me too. Because
Yeah.
Yeah.
if that thing shifts,
Right.
yeah,
If
it's
it
gonna do a
pinches,
lot
oh
more
my
damage.
gosh, yeah,
Yeah,
right.
yeah. It freaks me out.
However, the people that wear them say they haven't really had problems for the most part.
Right. I know I should have long tried. I'm long overdue to try it just because it happens, you know, at least once a fight. But
When my question too with like ball shots in general, even when you like throw that, when you accidentally connect, I would assume that it does hurt like your foot or your shin also. And like for dudes just to keep doing that, like does does it hurt like when you make contact and you know you've made contact, do you know you're hitting the cup at that point? Like I mean, you personally, like if you're trying to go for something, you're like, oh fuck. Is there like an extra little? Do you get a
yeah,
pain?
you absolutely know.
Not really. What?
Do you get what?
Do you feel like pain in your like shin or your foot when you make contact if it's hard enough? Because that's the one thing I would always look for is like a little bit like because it a cup plastic cup kicking into it, they hurt to begin with even if you get punched or anything like that. Do you as a fighter feel the pain of like the cup against like your toes or your shin or anything like that?
I mean, it all depends on the angle.
Okay.
I don't usually try and field goal somebody, kick somebody, so
Yeah.
it's not gonna land flush. I mean, when I do it, it's more from the side, so it's like a brush.
Okay.
But you can absolutely feel it. You know exactly when you hit it. I mean, unless it's just a weird angle that you don't think you did, but yeah, you definitely know. Absolutely. And you know, you got some guys that are cool about it, and they'll be
Yeah.
like, "Oh, I'm sorry," and then you just got other guys that are like, "Well, I'm gonna charge him now."
Yep.
Yeah, man. I honestly think that the leeway with some of those shots is too much. Man. If you get guys 2 or 3 accidentals in a fight, dude, I mean, you're responsible for your weapons, right? That's what they tell you, right?
Right.
So, I mean, I don't know. After one, man. I mean, how many times you said you got hit like a dozen times before
It was
Chad
at
Shrunkovich
least
took a point?
it was at least 12, and I
That
think he took
sucks.
it at like 10 or 11. Because I
Gosh.
took a couple more after that in the third round. But yeah.
Who is your referee? Chris Tione?
Hey, what did we say the last episode about Tione? All right, people make mistakes. All right,
They do.
it
but
happens.
It still fits with the
It
situation, my
happens.
friend.
Yeah, you're right. No, yeah, Trukovich, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, Chad Trukovich, who I think does 95% of all fights in Ohio, at least the ones that I've seen. He did my fight. I had one fight, and he did. He was my ref. He's a good ref, though, usually, right?
Yeah, he's usually pretty decent. I have my picks of the guys that I don't want.
Okay, here we go.
There we have
All right,
something.
let's talk about it.
Obviously, I won't name them, but
Okay,
We're not
don't-
asking for
all right,
names.
don't
We're
name
just
them, but
asking
tell
for
us why.
reasons.
Yeah, reasons.
well, you know Parker, right?
No, you asking
You
me? I
don't
don't
know
think so.
Parker?
Parker
He
who?
trains Willis or Wills, one of the
Parker
two.
Wills. Oh, I know the name. I don't think I met him.
He trains with Andrew.
Okay.
Okay. Shout out to Andrew Law.
That douchebag Andrew Law.
He let a fight go on way too long. They actually had to throw in the towel, and
I was at that fight. Yeah.
Yeah. I can't speak for the exact injuries, but I mean it was pretty bad, like brain bleeding of some sort, and broken bones wherever they be.
Jesus.
No,
But it was just watching that fight. You're like, why is this still going?
Yeah, I was at that fight. It was an amateur fight too, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, you need it, man. I mean, usually those guys are pretty smart, except for this guy. I know who you're talking about now. I don't know his name, or else I'd say it because we've talked about him before, Ray. He's the guy that they suspended him. He hasn't. I'm pretty sure he hasn't done a fight since that card.
I just saw him.
Did you?
Him.
Really?
Oh, geez. I hope he fixes whatever's going on because I mean, Andrew Law told me that the athletic commissioner in Ohio, Brody Profano, called Andrew and asked him his opinion on him because he was calling people and asking them. And dude, I was there, and I was what? I mean, what happened? A judge threw a towel in because the judge was like, "Dude, what are you doing?"
Wow.
No, I think Andrew's other coach, Ben White, I think he threw the towel. I could be wrong.
I could ask Ben.
I'm
I could text Ben right now. No, I'm not going to, but I could.
But yeah, I mean, everybody makes mistakes, but that's a pretty big one to make, especially with an amateur.
Yeah.
And like, if you ever watch when he's in the cage, he's totally oblivious to what's going on. Like, he's not paying attention. He's not watching. Like, he's just looking around, and man, you just can't have it.
Yeah. Andrew told me, I think he was the ref he had when he beat Reggie Merriweather with that quick armbar.
Yeah.
And after the fight, he asked Andrew what kind of choke that was. Why? Oh, that's so sad. I heard that. I'm like, that's terrifying.
Oh my God. Oh,
right?
my former referee brain is just like losing its mind. And like, how do you not know what the fucking shit you're calling is? You have to ask a fighter to do it?
Right. And I'll tell Drew this story that I've told you. Okay. So at one point I was thinking about becoming a judge, and I did a couple trial judging fights, and I had to do one more. I just never got to it. But one of the judges told me that in Ohio, at least, when there is a finish, they circle the name of the winner on their card, but they used to have the judges write the method of victory, and they had to make them stop because most judges were getting it wrong.
Yeah, I believe it.
Isn't that terrifying?
I believe it. I totally believe it.
What other like things in your opinion like makes for just a god awful referee? Like give some other examples of like stuff you've seen officials do that just piss you off, even as like as a fan watching like your friend at a local fight.
Oh man, I got some for you. Oh boy. So a referee cannot stand up a fight in a dominant spot.
Mm-hmm.
So if I have mounts, if I have side control, if I have rear mount, like, it doesn't matter if we're just laying there cuddling. You cannot stand that up because one person is in a dominant spot. Guard is another thing, whatever. Up against the cage, just standing there, that's neutral. But I have literally seen people have rear mounts, side mounts, never mount, but side mount is in my opinion worse. But yeah, just stand them up. So there's a tactic we use when we're cornering fighters, and we always scream for the ref to stand them up. But when the ref actually does it, sometimes you're just like, "Holy cow! Did that just actually happen? Did he just stand those two up?" Yeah, it happens. Then you'll see things like, so let's say, your fighter has a dominant spot, but they get into some sort of weird, whatever it may be, like somebody's grabbing his shorts or changing the direction of what's going on. They'll stop the fight, um, to warn the guy, like, yo, don't grab his pants, don't grab his shorts. But then it'll be like, you're supposed to put it back in the position. Like, if I have a dominant spot and you stop the fight, you start it back where it was at. You don't start
Yeah.
it in a neutral spot. So I was cornering this one guy, and they literally stopped it because of, a problem they needed to address, and like, don't do that. We'll take a point if you do it again. And then they started the fight standing up again.
Oh,
And like, the dude I was cornering was like a straight wrestler, and he was fighting a striker, and he was scared out of his mind. It was his first time ever fighting. So like, I'm just trying to coach him into like getting it to the ground and like, let's do this. But he was just, your first fight, you're dealing with a lot of stress, a lot of anxiety. Um, your gas tank's not there. So that's what lost him the fight. Just like, he worked so hard to get that takedown, and they took it away from him. And I just think it almost like mentally broke him. Like,
oh,
yep, I guess I'm just gonna take this now. But yeah, I addressed it with the athletic commission. Like, I literally went and asked them to explain the rules to me, because they were there. What happens if they stop this fight right in this position? What do you do when the fight starts? And they're like, well, you have to put it back in the dominant spot. The dominant person gets their spot back. And I'm like, cool. Well, you should probably tell your referees that, because we just lost the fight because of that.
yeah,
And it's not for
absolutely.
me to say he would have won. We don't know, but you took his chance away.
Yeah. And that's a sad thing always. Like, even in the higher levels, sometimes they get referees that stand people up for no good reason. And it's and to hear a guy got mentally broke from that is just that's even, oh, it makes me sad.
I don't know I don't know if you know, Drew, what the standards are to becoming a ref in Ohio. Do you know it all?
Um, I honestly don't. I don't think that you have to take any classes. I could be
Yeah.
wrong, but you do. I do know that you do a lot of like shadowing. So
Mm-hmm.
you'll go and you'll watch them, and they'll explain stuff to you and blah blah blah, and then they'll give you like a trial run here, like they'll let you ref these two new guys, like not a high stakes fight.
Mm-hmm.
um, and then they'll watch and they'll see how you do, and then they'll let you do maybe two fights, and you'll just kind of work your way up. But the problem is if the refs that you're shadowing to learn how to do it, aren't very good at their jobs, then obviously they're going to explain things wrong to you. I don't think, if you know anything about the sport, I don't think the shadowing part of it is important, because I could get shadowed by a crappy referee, but I'm not
Mm-hmm.
going to pull their stuff because I'm going to know. I've been around in the sport. But I do think the best refs, are people that have some sort of training or competition.
Right.
Like, Forrest Pets is
Mm-hmm.
probably by far the best ref we've ever had. He doesn't do it anymore, but um, he fought pro in a long time. He made it to UFC, and he, of course, was one of the best ones we had.
Yeah. The only thing I can say, because I try to, like I said, I try to be a judge for a minute, or thought about it. And I will say this was like 7 or 8 years ago, so they may have changed things. But at the time, I just called Bernie Profano, and his secretary gave me right to him. And I said, I'm interested in judging. And he said to me, well, what's your martial arts background? And I said, I did some judo, which isn't untrue, but I'm a white belt, right? However, I mean, I watch a lot of fights. I know a good bit about fighting. That's why we do this podcast. But he said, okay, I'm going to give you some. He talked to me for about half an hour. Just kind of. He just talked. He name dropped Joe Rogan like 4 times. He's like, I have these conversations with my buddy Joe Rogan all the time. I'm like, okay, Mr. Profano. All right. But basically what they do is they just have you go to the card and sit with judges and then have you fill out a mock card and then they check it. And as far as I know, I was with all the judges, the ones I did. But that's all they do.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Right. I mean, and I remember one of the fights I was there was a judge and she had a fight 10-7 in one round. And the judge I was talking to, he's like, I have no idea what she's doing. I don't know if she's ever watched an MMA fight or what. But yeah, she had a 10-7. I have no idea. It was a 10-9. It wasn't a 10-8, but she had a 10-7 for some crazy reason. So there's some people out there. That was, I know I'm rambling on, but that was my next question was, have you ever been on the wrong side of judging?
Yeah, for sure. I've been on the wrong side of judging. Absolutely. I mean, I think everybody has this far, and you know, however many fights I have, I don't even want to think about it a lot. But yeah, it's definitely something that's frustrating, and it's even frustrating sometimes. Like even when you know you lost, but you won a round, and like one judge wants to take that from you, like
Right.
just to hear them say like somebody won all 3 rounds. You know, it doesn't matter at the end of the day, but just to hear them like, dude, did you not watch that round? Like, dude, were you not paying attention? Like it's frustrating. Like you shouldn't even see that.
Right.
Because that just means they quit paying attention.
Yeah.
Right. And I've heard some horrible stories about, I don't know if it's happened as much lately, but I told you about the 10-7 lady. And I've also had some people say that they had judges ask them what somebody was doing when they're putting in a submission and stuff. I mean, do you, or maybe your coaches, if you talk to them or anyone you know, have any suggestions on how to fix this? I mean, we've talked about it before, but what do you think?
I mean, I don't think there's really any easy way to fix it because, you know, it's all based off of what people's backgrounds are too. Like there are way too many people that favor wrestling. I'll tell you that for sure. Um, and then it's rare, but you have people too that give striking way too much precedence. So, I
Yeah.
mean, and you don't see a lot of like neutral minded people. It seems like whatever their background is what they're going to be drawn to. And, I mean, it kind of makes sense because, you know, that's what you like and that's what you like to see. But I mean, you got to give credit where it's due, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
even if you favor wrestling and you know it's a striker versus a wrestler and the wrestler's not doing anything and the striker seems to be predominantly causing damage, like how do you outpoint a takedown for like damage? Like where does 1 or 2 takedowns around oversee, you know, 4 minutes and 30 seconds of getting your ass kicked? Like that's what doesn't make sense to me. Like,
It,
well, how do you does a where do how do you balance a takedown versus time versus, you know, aggression versus damage?
the one thing that I don't know if what your opinion on this is, like a lot of the judges came from boxing. So a lot of people that's why like when you have those people who have only watched boxing who judge MMA, and it's happened. I mean, there's famous stories out of the Las Vegas Commission, at least, with like Adelaide Bird and all those kind of things. Would you say a lot of like it's just plain ignorance really sometimes because they really do not know, and it's pretty much just like somebody's friend, because that has to happen in the judging, yeah, like where you find out some person's like only there because of the fact that they know somebody and they maybe watch it on TV kind of thing and they have no real fucking clue.
Right. I mean, I think that's fair because that's why there's no real like nobody has any idea what they're doing when it comes down to the end of the day. If they did, then there would be a push for some sort of standardization with like points and scoring and all that stuff. But you don't see that. You just see people continuously go out and again, that's why you see scoring, you know, even just one judge out of two, quite often score one of the rounds different, whether it be two people scoring a round, a 10-8 round, because it's so one-sided, or if it's, you know, one judge giving somebody all three rounds and two judges giving, you know, two rounds. And you know, there's close fights where people are going to be on the fence, um, with certain rounds. So yeah, obviously one person's going to have to be the one that picks the other if it's that close. But I honestly think you see it more often than you shouldn't, and that's where it comes back to me with, like, people make up their own scoring system in their head because
Yep.
they don't really know what they're doing, and it goes back to the whole takedown thing. Like, where do you say that, like, to me, like, if you get somebody down, it's cool. But if they pop right back up, doesn't that just nullify the takedown? Because you really didn't do anything with it. You took them down, they stood right back up. They
Yeah.
popped back up. So it doesn't count. And then you see these fights where people are, you know, taking somebody down, they're getting back up. They're taking somebody down, they're getting back up. They're taking somebody down, they're getting back up. But the dude still loses. But that's neutral. No, nobody has like the upper hand in that situation. If they did, then you know it would be he would be doing something after he had the takedown, whether that be established position, whether that be land a few strikes, whether that be pin him to the ground. Like, you didn't maintain any sort of position at all. So how do you score that? How do you score that, and why?
That should be a standard, really. Like that should, like, as soon as somebody gets up, because that's happened. I've seen it a bunch of times where guys in upper levels will come back up and and after a takedown, but yet they still like keep it. And meanwhile, people at home, like, they know that that's not a takedown because of the fact that, you know, he was able to get the fuck up quickly. And yeah, I don't know. Judging confuses me. It really
Yeah,
does.
I mean, one of the things that I'm sure some commissions are doing it, and I hear some commissions are doing it. I don't know if Ohio does it now. They did it in the past. That's all I know. But just to have some sort of standard in a class that says, hey, this is what we want you to look for, right? Just let's get everyone on the same page. I don't understand how difficult that is. Like, I've umpired high school baseball, right? And we have to go through multiple classes and whatever and all this. And just, you know, for that, you show up and, you know, I don't know. What do you know? You boxing? Okay, give them more points for boxing. Wrestling, give them more points for wrestling. It doesn't seem that difficult to me for them to get together and have someone to say, hey, this is what we want you to look for. And not just state by state, but, you know, the entire country or the entire sport in general. And it is one of the problems with multiple athletic commissions, right? Because
Right.
they all have their own standards. And you fought in multiple commissions, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Big different rules too. Different
Yeah.
rules.
Yeah. Have you ever showed up in a state and it felt like you're almost fighting a different sport just because of the kind of things they wanted you to do, or maybe the
Oh
process of
man.
things?
Phew. So I obviously try to go out to Team Quest, Dan Henderson's. Um, that was like my yearly thing. I didn't get to go last year, and I was planning on a trip this year, and obviously that didn't happen because of Corona 2020. Um, but I had fought Kenny Losi, and it was I'll say a garbage stoppage. It'll probably start more things when people say that see it, but what or hear this, but whatever. You know, there's one thing that my coach is really good at, and you know, he'll always tell me like, "Yo, dude, that was pretty good stoppage, man. Like, just shut up. Like, that was good." um, but you know, after the fight, you know, I was pretty frustrated, but he came up to me and he's like, "Dude, I want you to post a picture of your face on Facebook and say that you lost the fight because you got hit too much." Because I literally never got hit once in the face. The whole plan for that fight was to weather the storm because he gasses out so quickly. Um, but apparently with certain judges you can't do that. But anyway, I was out Team Quest after this, and Alvy was like, "Hey, what do you, I know you came out here for fun and to learn and, you know, have a good time, but what do you think about, you know, taking this fight?" And I'm like, "Man, well, what do you think?" And he's like, "You know, I've trained with you this year and last year, and I've had some guys fight him. I think this is a great fight for you. And I'm just like, man, well, do you think he'd meet me at 150? And he's like, I'll ask. So he said, yeah. So I'm like, okay, if I come home after practice today and I'm at 170, like, I'll do the fight. So I come home from practice. I'm 172.
Oh.
So I'm like, you really think you can get me? So this story is going to be a little bit longer.
Oh
We'll
no,
get into
All
we
good,
this,
got
man. All
time, bro.
good.
but I think you'll enjoy this story a lot. I love telling this story. Um, so I'm like, you really think you can get me to 150 in 10 days? And he's like, yeah, that's cake. I'm like, okay. So I go to bed. I wake up. It's like 5:30 in the morning. It's dark. Sleeping in his guest bedroom. I feel somebody standing over top of me. So I like wake up. Sam Alvey standing over top of me at 5:30 in the morning. I'm like, what, dude? He's like, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm sleeping. Practice isn't for another 5 hours. And he's like, get up and you go run. And I'm like, it's 5:30. He's like, yeah, it's the desert. It gets hot fast. So you go run now. I'm like, okay, well, how long am I running? He's like, I don't care how far you run, but you don't come back until you've been gone for an hour. And I'm like, could I have something to drink or something to eat first? He's like, no. I'm
Oh
like,
Jesus.
all right. So I just leave, come back. Um, I'm like, okay, can I have something to eat now? He's like, yeah. He gives me like 6 grapes and 12 almonds. I'm like, I'm gonna die. So I go to the first practice of the day. I come home. I make like egg whites and some broccoli, and he like comes over and he takes half my food away and like starts eating it. He's like, "You could eat the rest." I'm like, "All right, I really am gonna die." So go take a nap, get woken up again. I think he wanted me to go run again before second practice. So I go run, come back, go to second practice, come back, make food. He takes half my food and eats it. And it was just the same thing over and over again. So, as a pro in Ohio, you have to have blood work to make sure you don't have any of the, bad diseases to transfer. You have to have an eye exam, and I think that's it in Ohio. Blood work, eye exam. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's it. So, um, I find out like I have to go get an eye test. I have to have an MRI. I have to have a um, physical. I have to have an EKG. I have to have this. I have to have that. I'm like, dude, I don't want to do this anymore. This is going to be expensive. So, um, yeah, it costs like $850 or something like that to get all the tests done. So I had to drive. Where Quest is at, it's in Temecula, so it's like an hour south of Los Angeles, and it's about an hour and a half north of San Diego. I might have said that backwards, but it's one of those two. Anyway, it's like dead in the middle, close to. And so I had to wake up. My goal was to beat the LA traffic because I already knew it was going to be crazy. So I left. I think we left at like 4 or 5 in the morning, and the place didn't even open till 10. So we were there like 3 or 4 hours early. Um, so it's just this big giant building that has like everything all in one building. So like the only thing that wasn't in the same building was the MRI, and that was down the street. So they literally wanted to start with my eye test because there was a bunch of fighters there, so they were trying to break them up in groups and whatnot. So I had to get my eye test first, and so I spent the I spent the entire day not being able to see because they dilated my eyes. Um, so yeah, have you seen Cameron McIntosh fight?
Oh, I thought I could remember.
The
Maybe I just can't remember.
name sounds familiar. Yeah.
So he's an amateur. He puts on bloodbaths. But anyway, he was the one that was with me, and he just got such a kick out of this because I couldn't see, and so I had to have him fill out all my paperwork. So
Oh God.
He's literally asking me all these questions as loud as he can in front of an entire waiting room full of people. So he gets this question, he starts laughing, and he's trying to get it out, but he can't get it out. And I'm like, dude, will you just ask me the question? And he's like, have you ever had homosexual relationships? And I'm just like, you really just wanted to say that as loud as you could.
That's hilarious, man.
But
You should have
yeah,
just
this
said
was,
yes to like gauge what he would have said.
well, I couldn't see anybody, so I wouldn't have known what was on their face.
Well, you could have possibly seen him go, "What?" and
Right.
like push away.
But yeah, this ended up being like an all day thing, and then it took me, because traffic was so bad, I think it took like 6 hours or something like that to get back to Temecula to get through traffic. And it was just
Wow.
like, it was like 110 degrees. The AC in the car was broken, and we're just sitting on the highway baking.
Oh. And in California traffic, that
Yeah,
had,
right.
oh my God, it's just smoke in front of you. That's in front of car. Like you're basically behind the wall of smoke at that point.
Yeah, it
That's
was pretty awful.
what was it? How long had you been going out to Hendo's place?
So I did 2 years in a row. And then last year I just kind of got busy with life and just didn't end up happening. And so like I planned on this year because I like to try to make it like a yearly thing since I started going out there. Um, so I mean, hopefully next year. But I mean, I really enjoy going out there. It's a good time. Get to learn lots of stuff. Get to work with lots of really good guys that come through there. So it's definitely worth it.
I
Yeah,
was
man.
like,
Sam Alvey's a beast.
I was about to say Sam Alvey just like going, "What do you do?" Hopefully, did he have that signature smile on his face just to make it a little bit more creepy? I hope he.
So So the thing about him is like I don't know if people think it's like an act or something like that, but he legitimately is crazy. Like he doesn't not smile. There's a smile on his face all the time.
Oh hell
And
yeah!
that's a good thing. But then you get to the point where you just wonder if like he's mentally unstable.
Ah,
Maybe he's gonna kill me with a smile on his face.
what?
Oh man, you know
And
who I'd like to
But
have on the show, Ray?
who?
Smiling Sam Alvey.
Yes,
It'd be a fun time.
Smiling Sam would be an amazing guest. That would be awesome. We'd call it Smiling with Sam the entire
I
time.
mean, I can message him for you guys.
We'd appreciate it.
Yeah, if you can make that happen, we would be indebted to you
Just don't
for.
tell him that I said he's crazy.
Nope,
Ah,
won't. No, I won't. I promise. Uh, you know what though, Drew? It's awesome you're here because you're getting into the ground floor, man. This is the ground floor. This is episode what, 22, Ray?
22. Yeah,
Of what's
we can
eventually
drink
going to
now.
be, yeah, what's eventually going to be the greatest MMA podcast in the world.
We try and be.
Eventually,
That's what we want to be, the number one
we might as
solo
well.
MMA podcast.
Why do you do anything if you don't want to be the best, right, Drew?
Right.
Yeah, see? Right. And don't forget, and when we are the biggest, we won't forget you. All right. We won't
No,
forget our roots.
absolutely not.
It may take like a decade, but it's gonna happen. It's happening.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah, you
okay.
don't ever forget me.
No, for sure, man. You won't. What was I gonna ask? Okay. Oh yeah. It's going back to you had a bunch of amateur fights, right? Like how many?
Yeah. 17.
17. That's getting your work in, brother.
Yeah.
And I don't know how many people know this, if they're not from Ohio, but amateur fights in Ohio are fights. Like in Pennsylvania, they make them wear shin guards and stuff, and like you're not allowed to hit in the face or something weird like that. But no, I mean the only thing in Ohio you're not allowed to do is you can only hit in the face with your fist, right? You can't do legs in the face, you can't do knees or elbows. But everything else is a fight, right? But because you've been around a while, and I've noticed this as much as I've been paying attention to amateur fights, like maybe since my buddy Andrew Law's been fighting, so maybe like a decade. Lately, amateur fights are a lot less hilarious than they used to be. like,
Right.
like I wanted to make a documentary so bad about just bottom level amateur fights in Ohio, but because a lot of promotions are weaned out and a lot of fighters are weaned out then too, it's not. I mean, do you see that too? That it's not as I don't know. I say hilarious. I don't know. Do you know what I mean when I say that?
Yeah. So I mean, I think it's evolved to the point where people know, like, if you want to do it, you got to be serious about it. Previously you had a lot of guys that don't even train with gyms, and they're just coming in and they've got no experience and they just want to throw fists for whatever reason. But I think you kind of see that starting to go away. You still have it a little bit, but for the most part, I think you see like just all around like a higher skill level than you've probably ever seen before. I mean, we have some guys. I've been around a long time as far as cornering people and watching people grow and get to different levels. And I've seen some guys that were just atrocious that wanted to fight. I mean, embarrassing. Like I'm never gonna name names, but like people that I didn't want to be associated with. Like,
Was it
don't
me? Was I one of them?
no, no, never you, never you.
I
But
trained for 2 weeks, Drew. 2 weeks, I was good to go.
that's how it should be. I wish it was like that. But
But
yeah, I think you see it now that it's I think you just like the newer guys that we have, they're on a different level than the guys like I used to see come into the gym.
yeah, well, I think we asked Andrew Law about that, and he's like, "Dude, guys put in full camps for their first fight now." And when Andrew fought, he literally did not throw a punch in his life when he fought his first fight. But talk about it like a hard job for the refs. I mean, and the matchmakers. I mean, I'll talk to the matchmakers, and they sometimes they don't know. They don't know what, especially then when it was the Wild West. We have a guy who's literally coming out the couch, and a guy who's literally been training for a year and a half with one of the big gyms like Strong Style, right? And the only thing you know is where they've been training. But if you don't know, one guy is going to be eventually be a good pro, and the next guy's never going to fight again, right? So if you're as a ref, you have to be on your toes, right? Have you seen a lot of those really terrible mismatches that are, if they knew what was up,
Yeah,
they would never do it?
yeah, and I see it a lot, and I see it a lot more than I should even still. Even recently, I just saw somebody that's being pumped up as the biggest thing to happen to MMA now, and I see the posts and like the last couple wins and how proud it is and whatnot, and that's cool and all, but then I look at the matchups and I'm just like, why was that even a thing? Like, who even thought that that was a good matchup? Like, I couldn't with my conscience put that fight together and be like, yeah, this is gonna be awesome, because they all turned out exactly how they should have.
Yep.
And
Mm-hmm.
um, you know, you finally I finally saw this person actually take a fight against somebody that was more on the level, and good for them, they won. I'll never take away from somebody that wins deservingly, but I don't understand the whole like selling yourself as the best ever, but not. I mean, wait until you actually get to that point, because nobody knows. And like I said, those guys that were matched up, I think they knew. I think that they knew they weren't going to win. They took those fights for a quick, paycheck, knowing that they just go in there and take the fall, and it is what it is. And I don't want to say anybody's taking a fall, but there's no way, just because I know of some circumstances with the one, there's no way in his mind he thought he was going to win that fight.
Uh, that's always, and that seems to be a thing that's always been in fighting. For some reason, you get like a guy who has a manager who like picks the fights, and there is a feeling of almost like, yeah, this was basically meant to be a like tomato can for him to be beaten up with. Like, do you get mad when you see that kind of stuff on a fight card where you're just like, fuck this shit? Like, why the hell is this dude? And even when you're cornering somebody, like if you're cornering somebody and you see that like a fight before them was just basically two different levels, how frustrating is that as a fighter itself? I mean, for you.
So I do gotta explain. There's a couple different sides of the coin, and I get it. Especially on you know the amateur level. It's a hard sport, and not many people stick around. Some people don't even make it to actually fight. So I mean, gosh, so many people have come through those doors and left and just never seen them again, or come for a couple weeks, couple months, whatever, and they're just gone. So when somebody makes the fight, uh, you like the newer guys, you have to see their skill set for what it is, but you need to bring it down because you have to imagine like the first fight's always going to be your worst fight. You're not going to fight to your potential. Your nerves are going to be through the roof. You're not going to be as good as what you are in the gym. There's just no way. Your adrenaline's going to dump. Your legs are going to feel like jello. You're not going to be able to hold your arms up. You're not going to be able to control your breathing. So I mean, you don't want to get your newer guys the toughest guy right out of the gate because if that happens, they might just be like, yeah, dude, I don't want to do this. Because they're never going to know what it's like to actually like get in there and like have control over themselves, like to the best ability they can. So I see the side where like you want to get not like a give me, but like you don't want this top level prospect. Like I would never want a 0-0 guy that I've worked with to fight somebody that's 2-0.
Yeah.
No, I honestly don't prefer somebody that's 0-0 to fight somebody that's 1-0. I like to see 0-0s and 0-1s fight each other. The 0-1 guy, he might be a stud. So you could be walking into a trap on that too. Like I
Yeah.
said, it's your first fight. Maybe you had a bad one. I don't. The gimme fights that I don't like to see are the guys that have been um, fighting for a while and they're having a good run and they're getting pumped up to be this big thing and they just get like tomato can after tomato can after tomato can and then they go pro and the way I see it is they're 0-0 as a pro, but you got to compare both their amateur records too. I mean it's
Yeah.
still a fight, um, and I almost feel like they just wiped that slate away. Like you got this dude that was like, 7-10 as an amateur, and this other dude that's like 10-1 as an amateur, but they're both 0-0 pro, and somehow you put that fight together. Like,
Yeah.
how is that even a thing?
Favoritism, probably. I wanted to ask you also
Well,
about what were you going to say?
well, I just wanted to bring this up because it has to do with what he was just saying. I'm like, how much of that also is on, the 7 and 10 guys camp? Like, I mean,
Yeah.
they don't have to take the right. Like, how much do you put on that? We talked about terrible matchups. We talked about it a lot with that boxing match recently, that women's boxing match where the girl shouldn't have been in the same ring as that girl and she got destroyed. Like, whose fault is that? It's the promotion's fault. It's the coach's fault. Like, how much of that do you put on the coaches and the managers or whatever, whoever helps them make decisions?
Um, I mean, my whole thing is when it comes down to it, that shouldn't have been offered to begin with.
Right.
If
Okay.
if it
Yeah.
wasn't even offered, it wouldn't even matter. Secondly, I don't. The I think the 7-9 guy probably doesn't have a coach, and so he's taken that fight, or he was with the gym before and he's no longer with them, and he's an independent guy. So it's just it's a bad taste altogether. Like it shouldn't be a thing.
Agreed.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Um, when you're I wanted to ask you about cornering fighters. The obviously being in the corner and being in the cage are two different things. But like, what to you makes a good corner man when like fight day arrives, even the lead up to when you know that you're going to be cornering this fighter? What are some like things that you try and do for that fighter or like make sure that they're like comfortable and all that kind of stuff? What do you try and do when you corner fighters?
So what you got to realize is everybody handles it different. Everybody's personality is different when it comes to fight day and how people act and project themselves. Some people don't want to talk. Some people want to be left alone. Some people don't shut up because their nerves. They're like trying to hide the fact that they're nervous, and they're just making jokes and walking around talking to this person and talking to that person. Just won't sit down, won't sit still. But I just I try and like feed off of that energy. I always try to like make guys know, like, if you need anything, let me know. Like I ask them like before I'm on my way to the venue, do you need anything? Do you need to pick you up anything? Is there anything you forgot? Anything you want, etc., etc. And when I get there, um, some guys, you can hype them up with talk and whatever, and I just kind of look at it saying the same things you've told them 5,000 times. So they're either going to buy into it or they're not. Some guys you can tell just kind of shut down. They don't want to hear it. Like you can tell just by looking, at their face. Like they're just kind of like, yeah, I wish you'd shut up right now. And some other guys are just like kind of feeding off the energy. So I think it's really important to be like receptive of like the type of person you're dealing with.
Yeah, we've talked about that a bunch with guys who are coaches or have been coached about their coaches, that it's just, you have to know who you're dealing with, right? You can't treat everybody the same because not everyone learns the same. Not everybody reacts the same way to different situations. You can't force somebody to do it the way someone else does, right?
Right.
Yeah, that makes
Everybody's
sense.
their own.
Get the
What just
video back.
happened?
No,
got
we
the video
we
back.
lost the video for a second, but we're good. We're back. Oh, where you got something, Ray? Go for it, brother.
Yeah, actually, I was gonna say, you brought up the when you were accepting a fight and you were at a certain amount for weight cutting. We on this show have asked this question numerous times from MMA to MMA fighters, and a couple of we've talked about it off air too. What's your thoughts on like weight cutting? And then I have a follow-up question to that, but like first, like what is if like a fighter watches this, what is some advice to them that you would impart when it comes to weight cutting?
I think probably the most important thing is that people don't listen to and people don't understand is only you can know how your body works and what you need to do. You can take advice and learn things. I mean, that's what I did, trial and error and listening to people and following advice until I found what works best for me. But like to tell somebody that there's one certain diet that works or like you got to do this, you got to do that's asinine. Like it takes so long to get it perfected to a science,
For
and
sure.
it's figuring yourself out, and that's where people get caught up because they want this special magical diet that's just going to work, but your body might process carbs or fat or calories different than mine, sugars. Everybody needs to figure out what makes them feel the best because not only do you have to focus on the weight loss part of it, but you need to focus on fueling your body so that you can, make it through practice without getting hurt. Because if you try somebody else's diet and you just are tired and dragging every single day, then you're not going to be able to perform at practice and you're going to get hurt.
Yeah. And we've asked this question multiple times on this show to
Oh, I know where you're
fighters.
going. I know where you're
Yeah.
going.
Weight classes.
Mm-hmm.
We have a universal opinion, me and Tim, on this, that there should be more of them. And it would be anywhere from in the 195 between 205 and 170 or 185. Have a 195 division, and then also between 180 and or 155 and 170. Have like a 165. What's your opinion on adding weight classes to mixed martial arts? And do you think it would, one, dilute it, or two, make it better?
Uh, I'm not a huge fan of adding more of the weight classes, to be 100% honest.
Okay.
Um, I mean, I think like when you get to a certain size, like I'm trying to think of a way to put this where it makes sense. If you look at the way like guys are built and whatnot based off their sizes, like I think 205 is like a pretty like normal thing.
Yeah.
Um, and like 85, I think that's a pretty normal thing too. And like 70, like I feel like those are good cutoffs. If you make it 165, I think you're going to see a problem for a while because you're going to see, you know, you're going to see all the 170s that are too small to be 170 go to 165, which is perfectly fine. That makes sense. But you're also going to see guys that have no business trying to cut weight to try to cut that extra 5 pounds.
Yeah.
Because they're gonna be like, you know what? It's only 5 pounds. I can do it. And then you're also going to have, guys that are too big for 55 go to 65, but that's not a good fit. That's a huge jump. That's 10 pounds.
Yeah.
You got small 170s. They fit perfectly in that 165 bracket. So, but then you have the guys that need that next jump. They're going up 10 pounds. So in theory, I understand like the jump now is between 15 or 55 and 70, but you're going to have a top level guys from 170 that are too small to be there. They're going to destroy that weight class.
I mean, it is that is a big possibility.
Yeah, but my thing, Ray didn't say this, but my plan, the Tim Danko plan, right?
The Dank plan.
Yes, the superior plan of weight classes is that not only do you put it in 165, but you take 70, you move it to 175. So you have 10s in between. And
no, I get that.
That's what I'm trying to say. That's what I've always been saying. And also because the two most stacked weight classes in MMA are 55 and 70. So you put a third one in there. It's not going to
get out of here.
Sorry, 40. Really, 45?
Yeah,
are you saying it just because that's your weight class, or you're saying to think to get the most killers?
45 is pretty stacked, man.
I'm not saying it isn't, but I'm saying those two, you making 3 classes, then there's still 3 really tight classes.
So
I'm saying.
then you end up with another issue, because then you have guys that are perfect for 170 that have to bump up to 75. And then of course you have the 85ers. Like, do I gamble this and take a shot at 75?
But the thing is, you're having the same problems now with people. The guys that are a little we're bringing up again our buddy Andrew Law. Like, he doesn't cut a lot for 70, but 65 would be great for him. We had another guy, Lucas Maston. He said he would love the 65. That'd be perfect for him. Right. So you have those guys that are kind of in that spot now already.
And even Eric Posen, same one. He had the same opinion.
So here's my only problem. Like, everybody's got an opinion, right? So you're going to help some guys and hurt some guys, which what we have right now helps some guys and hurts some guys. So you're either going to flip the coin. Either way, half the people are going to be cool with it, half the people aren't. And if you flip it to the other way that you're proposing, the same thing. So you're going to help those guys that want that weight class, but you're going to hurt the guys that don't want that weight class.
Right. I mean, I think it's not like you're splitting up, like putting a cruiserweight weight in between light heavyweight and heavyweight. There's not a ton of fighters anyway. You're talking about the 2 divisions that have a ton of fighters, right? So you're still going to have a really talented corporate guys if you have 3 classes there. 45 though, man. You think 45 is the most stacked weight class? Are we talking UFC? Are we talking everywhere?
I think it's probably. I think 45 and 55 are definitely 2 of the deepest, toughest weight classes, and I'm not just talking, specifically inside the UFC. I'm talking about, all around. Way quicker than 170. You get stud wrestlers, you get stud strikers. Like, I think that's like the pool of the pool for, the best you're gonna see.
I do.
I
think
could definitely see that being the case.
Most stacked. Yeah. Mike, we just talked about Michael Chandler, right? Going to the UFC. He's a monster. Anyone who's known MMA knows how big of a beast Michael Chandler is.
He makes that 155 division really pop now, which it was
already popping.
I know, but it exploded with him. He was sort of the match that lit that fuse to really blow it up huge, in my opinion. It
was already lit, in my opinion, Ray. I believe you're wrong, sir.
I love Michael Chandler.
I did too, man. What's up, Drew?
I think he missed his time frame. I think he's going in a little bit too late. Yeah. He's doing the Eddie Alvarez special.
Well, Alvarez won it.
Yes, but his reign would have been so much better had it been, a couple years before that. So
agreed.
I think he's pulling the same thing as Eddie Alvarez, just a little bit too late. But I wanted to go back to that. Crap, I forget what I was gonna say.
I do it all the time, man. Every episode.
Oh man. Oh yeah. I was gonna say, like, with 45, I think the talent pool is so high that and I think at 55 too, I think the talent pool is so high. There's guys that you'll never see make it because
Mm-hmm.
the people are so good at those two weight classes that they're just going to constantly give each other losses. Like if you see like even some of like the top names around in like different areas and whatnot, like regionally, they all get losses. Like there's not very many 45 or 55s that go 10-0, 9-0, 8-0.
Yeah.
I mean these guys are going at it pretty hard, and I think that's what I base my thing off of, because I know a lot of talented guys that are at 145 that are never going to make it. Like um, you know, I can talk about Dustin Kemp because I'm sure he's probably, I don't know if he'll ever fight again, but I think he's like 7-9 or so, maybe 8-9. Um, I've trained with a lot of guys, man. I've trained with Matt Brown. I've trained with Dan Henderson. I've trained with Alvey, Sokaju. Just well, I'm not going to name drop. It's stupid. But my point is, I've trained with guys at all levels, and I've always told Dustin Kemp, like even after training with those guys, I think that he is the probably best guy I've ever trained with. His boxing is good. His kickboxing is good. His wrestling is unreal. Like when he explodes, like his explosion, he's stronger than anybody I've ever felt at 145. Like if that guy wasn't 7-9, 8-9, yeah, he'd be a star, dude. Like that dude it's crazy, dude. It's crazy how good somebody can be and not be in the light like that.
Yeah, that
It's
was okay.
absolutely unreal.
Sorry, brother. I didn't mean to step on you. No, what I was just saying is that, I mean, who has he fought? Has he fought tough dudes all the way through? Right? Because then there's a question of, there's also guys who you look at their records and they fought, tomato cans the entire way, kind of like what we talked about before. And they have this record is like 10, 11, and 0. And it looks great when, guys from other organizations are just looking at records, right?
Yeah, I mean, I can say for a fact, like he's fought some of the top guys. I mean, all the guys that were, he had a fight of the night, I think, with Donnie Walker, who ended up going on to the UFC after that. He's fought Frank the Tank, who was in Bellator. Um, he fought Kyle Rosetsky. I fought him too. I beat him though. Fuck you, Dustin. Um, so Kyle's some superstar in China now. He's over there freaking. I don't even know how you look up his record because it doesn't even show up. And I see this guy like posting belts and crap, all over the place. But I mean, he hasn't had a lot of easy fights. I mean, I've watched him lose some fights he shouldn't have lost, and mentality is huge in this. It's probably definitely bigger than the physical part of it. I mean, it doesn't matter how good a shape you are in if you show up and you're not there mentally.
Yeah. Yeah, that's like that's like what we do with comedy. Like and Tim can attest to it, and I definitely can. Where you show up, you think you're like got your set in hand, and then all of a sudden a hand grenade is thrown at your foot, and you're like, "Oh fuck, I gotta get out of here." What's that like as a fighter? If that like happens to you, like how does that feel? Like personally for you, when like all of a sudden you're like, "Oh, I can't get anything." Like is it? I would assume it's almost like panic, yeah?
Uh, like as far as like during the fight, you mean?
Yeah, yeah. Where like you have a plan, you have that game plan going in, and then all of a sudden it's just basically crumpled up in front of you and thrown in your face. Like, take it now, mofo. Like, what kind of like as a fighter, what goes through your mind during that?
Oh yeah, that definitely sucks. I mean, there's
Yeah,
there's no real there's no real easy way to really say that eloquently.
yeah,
But I mean, there's nothing you can do. All you can do is try something else, try something else. I don't particularly like going into a fight with a game plan. I honestly think
okay,
that's stupid. Um, I think that if your camp's solid and you're actually like spending days working on each thing, that I think the best things that you are good at are going to come out, obviously. But you also have that backup. Like I always say, I don't like to rely on my wrestling. And people don't see that. People don't know that because people that I usually fight are usually not known as strikers. So I like to generally keep it standing. But I'm still working wrestling. Like I don't go an entire camp and not work on takedowns. So
Okay.
I think that's the big thing is just being prepared and not like making a game plan. Like I'm gonna go out and do this, and if this doesn't work, I'm gonna do that. Like just let it flow. Just let whatever happens is gonna happen. Let it flow.
Yeah, I mean, this is a kind of a corny thing to say, but I think it's true, right? Like fighting is a microcosm for life, right? Like you just take what's thrown at you and you have to adjust, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, getting stuck on game plans will get you killed because when you have game plans like that, it's the same thing like when you miss a takedown. Like they say, like you miss 2 takedowns, and then like your level comes down, your confidence come down. You miss the third one, and then you're just screwed. It's the same thing. Like you have a game plan, it fails, so you go to your backup game plan because you only had one backup game plan. Now that fails. Now you're like, man, I don't want to be here anymore. Where if you just like, okay, let's go on to something else. Let's go on to something else. Let's go on to something. I'm gonna try this. I'm gonna try this. And I think that makes it way more manageable and easy to do.
Makes sense.
Tim, yeah, questions?
Yeah, man, I do.
We go ahead.
Yeah, man. Where are we on? We on time? We're about back end here.
Yeah, I would say we've
How are
been
you,
going
Drew?
for about an hour and a half. I want to say maybe hour.
All right, yeah. How are you doing, Drew? We should ask you that. Good?
I'm good. Yeah, I got
All
a
right,
little
sweet.
bit longer.
All right,
Good.
cool. This is a question. It's Ray's favorite. It's my favorite too. I've been asking everybody. I really hope to get a good answer for this. Ready? Here we go. Drew Schottenheimer. Who is the biggest bitch you ever fought?
uh, so what do you define as that?
Well, this is the thing. It
Like
depends on what you
soft? Like
it,
soft or like just like I don't like them?
This is the thing. It's up to you, right?
Yeah.
It's on you. It's on your definition.
Well,
Yeah, it's a tough one. I know.
Ah.
We
yeah,
know we usually get answers, man. Andrew answered it. Lucas Mass answered it.
what did Andrew say?
He said this kid, Avin Warrels, that he fought as an amateur because he bailed out, I think, that first fight like 10 minutes before the fight.
Yeah,
and then he made fun of judo, and then he started like screaming at his corner after Andrew finished him when they eventually did fight. And no, I was at both those fights. I'm well aware of what happened, and he was right. That kid was a bitch.
I mean, everybody knows that my biggest breakout after a fight was the one I was talking about earlier with Kenny Losey. I mean, I just think it's funny he got in my face after the fight and called me a hoe. I found that pretty funny. And
it's 1997, you hoe.
You hoe. Everybody. So the funny part about this is you know, I all my team was gone. I was hanging out with my coworkers and friends, family, just trying to have a good time and forget about it. It is what it is. Like, whatever. People are going to agree or disagree if it was bad stoppage. Like at that point, I don't really care anymore. It's over. I can't do anything about it. State's not going to care. It is what it is. I know what happened. I would hope that, as a fighter, like you could be proud enough to be like, yeah, I didn't hit him in the face one time. But it is what it is. But like starting a fight and stuff in between me and my coworkers and my family and friends, and then like your whole team getting involved and like, coming out and like causing a big scene, like, dude, come on, man, you're supposed to be a professional fighter, dude.
Yeah.
Like, it's an emotional sport. Like people do things, people act out of whatever. Yeah, I posted a picture of my face on Facebook and said, guess what? I lost a fight tonight. Look at how bad my face is. And if that was so offensive to you, dude, literally, if I won that fight and I literally thought it was good stoppage, if I would have saw that, I would have just laughed at it and I would have left you alone. Like, yo, if you really think that, cool, whatever. Just it's that mentality though. Like people from that place just walk around with their chest puffed out. They're just looking to fight anybody and everybody. And I'm not about that stuff. So yeah, I'd definitely say that for sure. Just on actions.
Yeah.
I won't even pick on soft people. Just just acting like that is just.
No, when I say that, I that's is usually what I mean. It's just like someone acting like a bitch, right? Just
Yeah.
like something like that. And that's not necessarily, how they fought. Although Lucas Mass told us a story about a guy who cried at weigh-ins. So I
Yeah. Oh
Man.
man.
You have anything else, Ray? Because if not, there's
No,
something else I want to
I'm
do.
good to go, man.
All right,
This
cool.
has been an awesome interview, man.
This is something I wanted to do. Right, we were going to talk about who we have next week, right?
Yes.
And before we do that, I want to see if we can get Drew to guess it. Is that cool? I'm going to give him some hints.
Yeah.
All right,
Lil
Drew.
Wayne.
Play the game,
Lil
brother.
Wayne.
No, it's not Little Wayne.
I want him on this show.
It's an MMA. Although, man, how many messages have we sent Little Wayne?
Probably 17, I think. I've been counting kind of.
I don't know. In all honesty, though,
the winner.
Yeah, Ray keeps bothering Mike Tyson's people. So
yeah, because I want to get that sweet publicity off of him versus Roy Jones Jr. Like, I'm excited for all of that.
I really hope that's a fight, not aggressive patty cake like I think it's going to be.
It might be. Who knows?
Patty cake.
I mean, I heard Logan Paul and Floyd Mayweather. That will be patty cake if that actually happens.
That will be patty cake all day.
100%
Floyd pulling punches because he doesn't want to hurt the kid.
Right. I don't blame him for doing it, man. He's going to get paid for it. Whatever.
Fuck
you
yeah.
Give him money for something like that. All right, Drew. I'm going to give you 3 hints, right? We'll see if you can get it in one guess. All right. I will say this. I guess 4 hints because I'm going to say it's not Dan Henderson because you talked about Dan Henderson. All right. Here's my 3 hints. List. Hit number 1, UFC Hall of Famer. Hit number 2, former UFC champion. Hit number 3, very successful coach as well.
Pat Militek.
Oh my God!
First guess. Look at this. Way to go! Awesome. Way to go, Drew Schottenheimer.
Drew Schottenheimer's breaking the scoop.
Oh, I said that wrong. I said a school name. Yeah, I said a school name.
It's all right. We knew who you're talking about. Pat Miletich, man.
We will be
excited for it.
Next week, ladies and gentlemen, we will be having Pat Miletich on. We want to thank Gene Walker for making this possible. And real quick, also give his. We'll have and Drew will have you do your social medias at the end. But I do want to give this out for Pat Miletich. You can go to blackonyxorganics.com/Pat Miletich. And that's that's the business link that he has. Go support Black Onyx Organics. Use that, and that also we'll be doing it we'll be plugging the shit out of that on the show with Pat next week, and I'm so excited for this. I've had Pat Miletich's number for 3 weeks. It scares me to even know that I have his number in my phone. Like it's going to be an honor to speak with him, man. Like I'm so excited for that.
Don't get starstruck, Ray. Don't get starstruck.
I'm trying to get it all out right now. Trying to just breathe it out and get all the things. And Drew, what are your social media handles? Give everybody, because people need to see where see your social media is, because you need more followers. This is the goal. I want to at least get 1 new follower for you.
On what? I haven't logged on to my Instagram in freaking forever, but it's I am Drucifer. My Facebook is drew.schottenheimer. It shouldn't be very hard to find me since my first name is DRU and nobody spells it that way.
Yeah.
I don't remember the last time I've logged on to Twitter. I know people have called me out and talked crap to me on Twitter, and I can't even see it because I don't remember my password. But yeah, so Instagram I am Drucifer, Facebook Drew.Schottenheimer.
Absolutely, my friend. Thank you for being on the Bro
Thank you so much, brother.
Yeah, this was awesome.
Thanks for having me.
And we'll have you on for round tables and stuff like that, because we're amassing now just people we can do different things with, and definitely going to have you on for more episodes. Tim, give your social media platforms.
At Dig Danko on Instagram, DIGDANKO Instagram, Twitter, and Tim Danko on Facebook.
And I am at Ray Hyclak. You can follow us at Bro Plata all across the social media handles, and our YouTube channel where we do post interviews. That's mainly the site where this will be on, and also our Facebook. We will be posting stuff. Tim is very, very much horseshacking himself right now.
I am.
Oh, Mr.
I am. Drew, you were I saw on Facebook you were at the Browns game.
I was at the Browns game.
How was that, man? With the social distancing, and they won, fantastic. They can't play defense, but their offense looked okay.
Yeah, their defense is terrible, and you know, as Drew Marty Schottenheimer, as you know, I obviously have to be there because with the family ties, it's my life, I guess. It's a sucky life,
Uncle
but yeah. So it was the greatest thing ever. I had reservations about it. Long story short, I had get away, Kevin. Sorry, that's the cat. He wants to get on the camera.
Hey.
So I had this is the first time I was able to get cardiac club seats, which are pretty amazing, and it's a limited club, only so many people allowed in it. So I wasn't going to have to deal with lines or any of that stuff. And I was so excited, and obviously COVID. So I actually got the refund and was like, whatever. But it was like being a part of the club because there were no bathroom lines. Like you generally have to fight people. I don't know if you guys go up to those games a lot, but you just got drunk people cutting in the exits and like cutting in front of you. And I'm just like, dude, everybody's got to go. That's why they're in the line. I think 2 people tried to fight me last year. But yeah, it's sweet, dude. It's amazing. Literally no lines. You just walk in, go to the bathroom. Halftime, I think I waited 2 minutes to take a pee at halftime. That is unheard of.
Yeah, that's
so,
at Cleveland Brown Stadium especially.
Yeah, right. So like I'm okay with that stuff. And people can make fun of it all you want, but being safe over sorry, I'm not mad about it. It benefited me. So, if I got to wear a mask, so what? Like that's another thing I think's funny is people are like all over Facebook and social media like wearing a mask is tyranny. Oh my God, Adolf Hitler, blah blah blah. And I'm just like looking at all the bills that are passing in Congress, and I'm just like, you guys are fighting the wrong battle.
Yep.
Like you're worried about masks, and like that to me is such a small thing. If it makes people feel better for me to wear a mask, then I'll wear a mask. Like if it makes older people feel better, I'm not gonna fight that. It's not that big of a deal to me. I don't like it, but it's not that big of a deal.
Right. And especially if that's the way we can get back to some sense of normalcy, right? When we can go to bars a little bit, we can go to games. I went to a high school football game the other day, and it was just nice just to go to a sporting event.
Right.
Yeah, but, man, it does sound kind of perfect, man, to go to a Browns game now and there's like, what was it, 6,000 people there or something like that? That sounds perfect. But I look on StubHub, and the tickets are like $200 a pop. I'm not even 100% sure they get you in the door. That's what I'm worried about. Like, whose tickets are good?
So if they're posted on StubHub, I would think that you're safe. I would honestly, I don't know like how interested you are in going to the game, but there's a couple Facebook groups that I can invite you to, and they're really good at watching people and making sure scammers don't come in the group.
Good.
I've been getting tickets through like that for years. So you literally just work with people. They're really cool. So like the guy I bought tickets from to go to the game the other day, he let me use PayPal goods and services, which means I'm protected.
Oh, gotcha.
So he's protected too. Neither one of us can scam each other. So like if he would have scammed me, I would have filled it out and they would have paid me my money back.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So I don't have to worry about stuff like that. But I mean, I knew that he wasn't gonna like be too hard to work with because he was going to the game and he was sitting right next to me. So I was like,
That's
better
cool.
bet I'm gonna find you.
Yeah, man. Put me in the groups because I may go to one this year. My biggest thing is usually finding someone else who also wants to spend stupid money to go to a game. That's the biggest thing for me.
Well, the way I saw it is like if that's the only game I get to go to, I guess that's the only game I get to go to.
Yeah, we got to see a win.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And it was worth it.
Yeah, I'm sure, man. Yeah, I mean, I have had good history with StubHub too. I mean, I feel like if you did get ripped off, they'd give you your money back. I mean, that's what happened to me last year. Well, not like that, but I bought Ohio State tickets and they never sent them to me. They were supposed to send them to me in the mail. Never got them. Called StubHub like the week of the game. They're like, well, that sucks. Let's just give you, other tickets. And they gave me tickets that in the AA section, which is, the real close. Like it was probably twice as much as what I would have paid for what I did pay for. And they gave me the upgrade because I never give me the tickets. So they were cool. So they don't really mess around.
Sweet. Yeah. Yeah, I wouldn't worry about something like that. The only thing I would watch out for is like if somebody is on Facebook and they're like, "No, dude, Venmo only." Like, nah, dude,
Right.
I'm good.
Yeah, that's a bit shady. That's a bit
Like
shady.
this dude didn't even ask me for the fees because when you use goods and services, they charge you a fee, and he didn't even ask me for that. So he paid the fee and never even said anything.
That's cool.
Very cool. Again, Drew, thank you for being on, my man. It's much appreciated. Look forward to having you on more episodes. And for everybody, we've revealed who it is. It's the love of next week. We have Pat fucking Miletich. So pumped. Things are looking up for us and coming up roses.
I'm pumped Drew got it right in the first guest, man. I honestly thought Matt Serra was going to be your guest.
Yeah.
Well, it was either going to be Pat, Matt, or Randy, and I don't think you got Randy. I mean, maybe.
Nah.
We can't pull him away from his young ass girlfriend, possibly.
Right.
But yeah, Drew, we appreciate it. Follow Drew on the social medias. Go watch his fights. And when he's fighting again, we will definitely be there in the state of Ohio to watch him fight. Again, for Tim Danko and the Drucifer, Drew Schottenheimer, I'm Ray Hyclak, and this has been Bro Plata. Thank you guys, and keep listening for more breakdowns and interviews live as they happen because we're awesome. Thank you guys for watching, and we will see you next time on the Bro Plata. Thank you guys.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Hey, Drew.